Welcome back to Financial Issues, AFR Talk, 888-589-8840. We got two things that I want to remind you of. First thing is, of course, today's Veterans Day, and I wish all our veterans a blessed day and thank them for not only our veterans, but those that are serving us today. Thank them for the freedoms that we enjoy, and I'm so grateful for that. And as we thank those that are continuing to serve, I know that all of you are going to call right now, 800-800-2555, because that's the number to help get the military Bible stick. That is an audio Bible that we're going to get in the hands of military chaplains, that are going to get it in the hands of those soldiers that are serving us, those men and women that are serving us right now, many of them in a war zone, to share the Word of God and get it into their hands. And we're so grateful for that. And I know you're going to call 800-800-2525. You can go to militarybiblestick.com. That's militarybiblestick.com to get more information on that. Also, this week, Operation Christmas Child. I know so many of you are familiar with it. Operation Christmas Child is where we share God's love and joy of Christmas, and we package up a gift, a shoebox, filled with different needs for a child, and whether it be school supplies or toys or just some necessary items of encouragement. You can even put a note of encouragement. It's going to go out to 100 different countries this year. This year is a historical year, it looks like, for Samaritan's Purse and Operation Christmas Child. And they're looking that this year they will be delivering shoeboxes to more than 100 million children since the project began in 1993. That is incredible. My wife is very active in Operation Christmas Child. She goes to not only active in the collection and active in Samaritan's Purse organization, but she'll be at she'll be in Atlanta, I think, this year, at one of the main distribution centers working for a week or so. So it is an incredible ministry. Look, here's what you can do. You can go to afr.net to find out exactly, to get some specific information about packing and where you can visit a location near you as a drop-off point. There are drop-off points around the country, and there's one near you. I'm certain of it. So would you get out this week and get your shoebox or boxes together and go to afr.net and get the information and get that shoebox out there at one of the drop-off points. And again, you can go to afr.net to get information. Now, look, if you can't go to the internet, go to 800-809-3882. You can call, and they'll give you all the information you need. That's 800-809-3882. And you can call and get some information on that great project. And I'm so excited that AFA, once again, is committed in AFR to supporting that great ministry of the shoebox and the Operation Christmas Child. It is an incredible ministry. Well, here's the thing, folks, as I talked about the fiscal cliff, and Charles brought this up. And look, the fact of the matter is there are at least 57 companies that have already committed to huge layoffs as a result of a new ideology, or I shouldn't say a new, but a renewed ideology in Washington, and all the operational issues with defense cuts that are likely to happen. Now, this does not even include all the defense contractors, but there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people laid off, according to these companies. Now, nobody's talking about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. I'm not sure why. It's kind of irrelevant for mainstream media not to be talking about it, because your man is in office now. So I don't know what their problem is, but they're not reporting it and they're not talking about it. But the fact of the matter is there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people laid off. Well, wait a minute, Dan. Didn't you just say that we're likely to go into recession? Yeah, if we go over the fiscal cliff. We're going to have tax increases. Listen, folks, tax increases means money out of our pockets. We all can understand that. If we can't get anything else, we can get that. And we can all understand and get that when money comes out of our pocket, we have less in our pockets, right? So you can all get that concept. We can also get the concept that if we have less in our pockets, we have less to spend once we get our bills paid. If we have less to spend once we get our bills paid, the economy, the entire economy of the United States of America is going to suffer, because we are an economy that is driven by consumers spending money. Okay? So we all get that. We're going to have health care increases in taxes. We're going to have the Bush tax credits expired, and our tax rates are going to go back to 2001. We've got capital gains tax on capital gains that are going from 15 to 20%. I believe they could even go higher. But anyway, 15 to 20%. You know those charitable trusts that I talk about all the time? If you're not doing your charitable trust this year, you're going to see significant tax changes next year that's going to impact that. That is going to hurt some folks who are planning on doing some things. Exemptions on the alternative minimum tax are going to expire. Unemployment benefits are going to decrease. We're going to have an increase of 2% in our payroll taxes, because right now that 2% temporary cut that we got in the Social Security tax is going to get reinstated on January 1st. That's going to create another 2% difference. I know, it's just going to take us back to 2010, but nevertheless, less money that we're going to have. The perfect storm of all of this for really throwing the economy in the tank would be to see oil prices go up. So something to happen around the world that is going to drive oil prices up, and at the same time we get gas prices. I think that something happening around the world that's going to drive gas prices up is happening here in America. And I think what is happening here in America is going to drive oil prices up. It's 3 initials, EPA. That's what it is. So it's the EPA crisis that is likely to drive gas prices up at some point in time as we see a reduction in oil production here in the United States of America. All of these things are going to throw us into recession. Now, wait a minute. Just to throw it into the storm, just to throw a little more turbulence in, you got 57 companies, many, many more. It's over 100, but at least 57 companies that have publicly come out and said they're going to have, some of them, mass layoffs, some of them out of business, some of them down to skeleton crews. You've got $600 billion being cut out of the defense budget. That's going to be over 100,000 jobs alone to be laid off, throwing more people in the workplace. Do you understand why the fiscal cliff is called a cliff? Because you're going to fall over it, and you're not likely to survive the hit. And that would be our economy. And by the way, those things I've just mentioned are the tip of the iceberg, because if you want to see things even get worse, we've got a government that is operating without a budget. We have got to increase the debt ceiling because we've got weasels in Congress that are all going to do it. So the weasels are going to vote to increase the debt ceiling, probably up to about $19 trillion, which will hit in a couple years. So we're going to be increasing our debt ceiling the same time that we are decreasing revenues, even though the Keynesian in Washington think the revenues are going to increase. That is not true. They're going to decrease as a result of all the other things I just mentioned. So now we've got a deficit increasing dramatically because the weasels aren't going to shut the government down. They're going to increase it. They're going to compromise. They're going to do what they've got to do to increase the deficit. You can almost count on that happening. That's going to happen. So at the same time, we are increasing our national debt because nowhere in the equation of any of this, nowhere, folks, nowhere is anybody in government talking about contracting the size of government or reducing those that work for government. As a matter of fact, Obamacare comes full force January 1st, 2013, it calls for the creation of 100 new bureaucracies that will have to get manned up. And if they say they're going to need 20 people for their particular bureaucracy, that will equate to about 120 in about 6 months. Also, in case you haven't noticed, adding to the deficit. This fiscal cliff that we could go over on January 1st is going to seem like we're tripping over a curb compared to the fiscal cliff that we're going to be faced with in 2 years. It's okay, though, because those that are drunk with power and addicted to it in Washington will likely gain more power, more social control. So to them, it's all good. The idea that it's all good because those rich fat cats are going to become poorer, and that is perceived as a good thing by America. I'm not going to say Washington, by America. Because you all voted for it. Remember? We all voted for it. And those that didn't vote for it didn't do enough to make sure others didn't vote for it. But nevertheless, we all voted for it. We are in the position of getting what we asked for. And if there is even one person that 3 years from now is saying, oh, I didn't know that, I would have never voted for the guy. Well, how about, nobody can say that. Because if we didn't see this freight train coming, you just turned your back at the tracks. So anyway, and then we got people that are trying to hold on and squeeze so tight to their 401ks or IRAs. They're not going to forget about tax advantages of doing anything right now. We're not going to do it because I'm not paying any taxes. That's okay. How about you wait until you get up to about 50 to 60% to pay it? Why don't you do that? That's a good idea. Just hang on to it. Squeeze tight, man, because the tighter you squeeze, the better it's going to be, right? Don't worry about it. And you don't need income. What are you going to do with the income anyway? What are you going to do with it? And you're going to have to get taxed in order to get the income. I say leave it alone until it dwindles to about 50% of what it is, then take it out and pay 50% more tax on it than you would normally. There's a plan. And that is exactly where so many people are headed, and I am just confused. I'm just confused. Oh, man. 888-5, and I don't mean to be offensive to all those people that are actually thinking about going down that path, but it is what it is. 888-589-8840. You're listening to AFR Talk Financial Issues.